we are back again with a very special video, and this video is actually in collaboration with my medical school, so a massive thank you for this opportunity. So I'll be walking you through the process by giving my experience and tips, then speaking to friends, and then speaking to the head of the medical school and the admissions team to ask them more questions about what the interview is actually like. So if you've ever wanted to know what it's actually like to sit through a medical school interview, then keep watching. So after receiving my interview emails in around November and December, I started preparing by using some books and then putting a lot of the questions that I saw from these books or these online resources into a massive Google Doc. And then what I would do with these questions is I would give them to my friends, families, and teachers, and then get them to ask me a random question. And so what this would do is this would prompt me to think on the spot, and this would prevent me from just giving a rehearsed answer each time. Being an international student, I had to fly from Hong Kong to the UK for all my interviews. So I had interviews at UCL, King's, and Newcastle. Now let me walk you through my experience interviewing at UCL. Everyone had to report to a building called the Rockefeller Building, which is actually besides the medical school. We then made our way upstairs to the 3rd floor to room 337, which is where I'm sat now actually. Straight away, the head of the medical school jumped into a presentation where she talked about the medical school, and then she gave a breakdown of what the day was going to be like. Soon after, the first group of students were brought for their interview. I remember while waiting, I tried to go over some of my notes, but then closer to the time, I thought, okay, there's no point stressing over these little things, and so I just thought, okay, I should just relax. Soon enough, it was my turn to be interviewed, and I remember being led by the head of the medical school at that time. I just remember my heart racing. After sitting down, I remember saying out loud, I'm feeling pretty nervous. But the panel did a really good job to reassure me straight away. Going into the questions, so right from the get-go, I was asked 2 questions. So why medicine? Why UCL? And so these are the questions which I think you can always anticipate for most interviews. I think they want to ease you into the process, and I definitely felt a lot more comfortable after answering those questions. Then I remember being asked about my extended essay project that I did for high-level biology when I was doing the IB. They then moved on to some questions about my work experience, and so I did my work experience at the National Heart Center of Singapore and at the Plastic Surgery Department for Singapore General Hospital. When I was talking about these experiences, instead of just listing so this procedure, that procedure, I tried to focus more on explaining my understanding of what it takes to be a doctor and what a doctor's role in the healthcare system actually is. I was then asked a few questions about the NHS, and then I was asked a few questions to compare that to the healthcare system back home. I think the whole point of that was just to help demonstrate my understanding of how healthcare systems work and the principles behind that. Moving on to my personal statement, I was then asked more questions about my extracurricular activities, and I genuinely felt like the panel was trying to get to know more about me. In my responses, I tried to talk about the skills and qualities which I think I have, and I also tried to make an effort to then link that to how I think that would help me be a good medical student and a good doctor. So for this video, I didn't want to just give my experience, and I actually interviewed 2 of my friends to give some insight into what their experience was like interviewing here.
Hey everyone, my name is NAZIFA and I'm a 4th year medical student at UCL. For my UCL interview, I was really nervous on the day. It was my last interview. I really wanted to get into UCL. And I remember going in feeling super nervous. But then they had one of the medical interviewers came in to talk to all of the candidates. Out of all of the interviews I had, it was the only interview where they sort of began on such a positive note. She made me feel so reassured because she was just like, guys, we want you to be yourselves, be natural, you've got this kind of thing. And it really was just an interview to get to know who you are. They began asking specifically how was your day, and I think they do that to sort of relax your nerves a little bit. And then it was just, you know, the basic medical school interview kind of questions that you would expect, like why do you want to do medicine, why UCL, etc. Really asking you about personal questions like examples of teamwork, your past experience and stuff like that. So things that you would naturally expect to come from an interview, they would ask. They were super reassuring, nice, like they were just really lovely in my interview.
My interview experience was actually really good. Compared to the others, I felt like UCL was a lot more supportive, and it didn't feel like they were grilling you. So they know what you're like on paper, and it's just about seeing if you are like that in real life as well. That's kind of the sense I got. And then as soon as you arrive on the interview day, they're always like, we already like you, otherwise we wouldn't have given you an interview, and it's just a matter of you like proving that to us face to face. They were very like calm, and if you are nervous, I feel like as soon as you go into that kind of setting, it settles down.
I think the main thing on reflection, when UCL interview, they really are trying to look for people who are balanced. They want to see if you're a sociable, approachable person, because communication skills is like the main thing for being a doctor. The academic side of things, you can work to do that. My biggest interview tip would be, it sounds really cliche, but you really have to try to be yourself. But it really is just about truly expressing why you want to study medicine and showing the passion that you have for the subject and just being yourself.
So I'd say the main thing is just to be quite calm as soon as you go in there. Because, like I said, the questions and the things they ask you is just about yourself. It's just finding out who you are. And obviously there's like questions you can prep for, you need to know what's going on in the news, that kind of stuff. But you would have done that preparation, so it's just about turning up and just showing off who you are, really. So I'd just say be calm, be composed, be yourself, and yeah, just let that personality shine through.
So after speaking to my friends, I now wanted to get some further insight, but this time from the interview panel. And I had an amazing opportunity to speak to the head of the medical school and the admissions teams to really poke their brains and find out what the interview panel is really looking for in a medical student, and what the process is actually like for them. So if you're someone who's planning to apply for medicine, or if you have an interview coming up soon, then pay attention closely to the next segment, because I think this will be really useful.
My name's Dr. FAYE GISHEN. I'm a clinical educator. So my clinical job is as a palliative care physician, and my educational job is that I help run the MBBS at UCL Medical School.
Could you tell me more about what characteristics or qualities you're actually looking for?
Essentially, for somebody who's going to be a good colleague, who's going to be compassionate, kind and caring towards patients, who's going to be a safe doctor. But also at UCL we have a really strong pedigree of academics. So we're looking for somebody who's good and competent clinically, so has got a strong grounding in the basic sciences.
What does being a good doctor actually mean?
Yeah, I mean that's a brilliant question, and it really cuts to the heart. So it's all the stuff about being good with patients, but it's also, there's something about appreciating and understanding that medicine is not always glamorous. In fact, it's rarely glamorous. So I think we're looking for somebody who we see something real in. Medicine is tough. Lots of things are tough. Medicine doesn't have the monopoly on that. But medicine is tough, and it's tough physically, it's tough emotionally, and actually we need people who recognise that it's not all glamour. In fact, it's rarely glamour. It's more about grittiness and difficulty and greyness, and that you can't always solve problems. So we're looking for somebody who understands that, who understands that it's going to be quite arduous.
How would you say that like a good candidate versus someone who maybe can't explain it as well, the things that you've mentioned about being able to understand that medicine is difficult, how could I best communicate that to you as to the interview panel? Because I think those are some things which I'd be worried about.
Sure, I mean we've just started our interview season, so I was interviewing yesterday. I mean most of the candidates are really fantastic. But I think there's something about not rote learning an answer that comes across as quite mechanical and quite rehearsed. So there's something, I use the word authentic, so it's somebody who can take a question and think on their feet and give something back to a panel that seems quite real, and to me might translate as them being a good thinker, a good doctor, a good communicator. So I look for something that I think looks authentic.
Hello, my name's Sarah Bennett. I am the Deputy Lead for the Medicine programme here at UCL Medical School, and I am also the admissions tutor.
I wanted to just ask, obviously you see hundreds and hundreds of candidates, in your experience as an admissions tutor. And like you mentioned, all these candidates have so many different special qualities about them, and they've done so many amazing things. But what really makes a candidate stand out to you from the competition?
Both within the application and at interview, I would think that somebody who has reflected on their experiences. So whatever experience you have had, that is good experience for being a medical student and being a doctor, whether that's your Saturday job, your role as a prefect at school, being in a club, being in a sports society. Within the personal statement and within the interview, if you can write about and talk about those things and you, that's what I want to see. I want to see more about you, to understand a bit more about you, and that's the purpose of the interview, is for us to find out a bit more about you and your personality and your motivation.
What sort of things can candidates do that can kind of create a more relaxed and comfortable environment for everyone?
Sure. So I totally understand how nervous students are coming to interview. A huge thing. It might be the first interview you've ever been to. So try as hard as you can to relax. Try to smile. Try and engage with each of the interviewers on the panel. Look at them, give them eye contact. Take your time over your answer and think about your answers. Listen to the question and answer the question, because we don't want you to be over-rehearsed and coming out with something that you've learned. We want to find out more about you as a person, and so if you can come in and relax in the interview and have a conversation, that's the best kind of interview that we can have.
I wanted to know more about the process that you sort of weigh up all the different components that a candidate has before they get to the interview.
Together, so we don't particularly weight anything over something else. Good BMAT scores strengthen the application. So, but as you said, when you get to the interview stage, that's all been done. Your interview now is your chance to show us how good you really are. One last piece of advice that I'd give to candidates is that things do change. So I'd really strongly recommend that candidates review the medical school's website before they apply and when they come to interview, to just keep up to date. Sometimes the criteria change, the format changes, and so it's definitely worth just keeping up to date with what is happening and what the medical school is doing in terms of interviews that year.
Hello, I'm Deborah Gill. I'm Professor of Medical Education and I'm the Director of the Medical School at UCL.
As someone who's been a doctor for a number of years now, I wanted to just ask you, what do you think it takes to be a good medical student and a good doctor? What sort of qualities would you need?
So medical school is a long period of time. 6 years is a long period of time, and lots of people think that being a good medical student is all about the academics. But actually, being a good medical student is spending that 6 years becoming a rounded individual who understands humans. So a good medical student, as far as I'm concerned, will get out and do the extracurricular things as well as the curricular things. They'll join clubs and societies, but they will develop that element of resilience that is about having a network of friends and activities and interests outside of medicine. So a good medical student, I think, is gregarious, questioning, connected, open-minded. They should work quite hard, but I think perhaps work slightly less hard than they think they should. If the decision of an evening is, should I go to football practice or should I spend another 3 hours in the library, you will become a better medical student and a better doctor and a better human being going to football practice.
I'm glad you say that.
It's the human factors, it's the living with uncertainty, it's the being disruptive and challenging in your thinking without being disrespectful. It's about recognising that people are different, and so there is no cookie cutter approach to how you treat conditions. And there's a human being right in the centre of it, and I think you learn that by developing as a human rather than in a library.
So I wanted to just ask you, what makes a candidate really stand out for you?
So what makes people stand out? It's rarely that they've read the latest articles in a cardiology journal. It's normally to do with their human features. So what makes them tick as a human? How much they understand other humans, how warm they are, how flexible they are, how they respond to challenge. But actually it's the last few minutes in an interview, I think, when you begin to see the person. So when they start telling you about diploma level piano playing, or when they start telling you about what really happened in their work experience. So when they get beyond the I saw 15 cardiac bypasses to the bit where they tell you about they saw somebody who had no pillow and no one was doing anything about the pillow. Those are the moments when we see that will be a UCL doctor, because actually a good UCL doctor would say, I'd go and do something about the pillow.
So what sort of advice could you give to anyone who's applying now, sitting in the interview? What can they do to kind of help themselves relax and not feel so anxious or scared before they start answering any questions?
So I think some of it is about the hype, about some people before they go, they're thinking, I want to go to this medical school, I've got to go to this medical school, I've got to impress them, I've got to tell them all the brilliant things I've done. But you've told them that in the application process. So you've already got to a place where they think you might be suitable. Don't waste your time telling us all the things we already know. Tell us the things that we don't know.
So we've talked about what you're looking for, but what are some of the common pitfalls you see some candidates make?
So insincerity. So giving us an answer we know and they know is just not true because they think that's the right answer. Lack of flexibility. If I asked you a question about, what are the biggest ethical challenges that are facing us, and you've got an idea because you've rehearsed it, and I say, maybe that isn't. Maybe this is an issue. Lack of sincerity is the real problem, and we see it the most in, so why medicine? So why UCL? If you think it's in the centre of London, it's the most amazing place to study medicine, the patients must be great, the things that go on in the university must be great. What a great answer. You say, well, there are world-renowned neuroscientists here, and we've got this incredible research thing going on here. We know that you're not being sincere, we know that you just read the website.
Obviously, medicine is so competitive and there's going to be applicants who aren't going to be successful. What would you say to them to keep them motivated or you know, to give them some inspiration.
If you don't get in, there's a good reason why you didn't get in. And it might have been the best thing that ever happened to you because it isn't the right place, or it isn't the right time, or you don't have the right skill set. So I think there's no harm in applying again, thinking about other places. So there's brilliant medical schools all over the UK, there's brilliant medical schools all over the world. That, you know, there's a really wide range of medical schools. Just because one medical school doesn't want you doesn't mean you need to stop trying.
Alright guys, so that wraps up this video, and I hope you guys found that useful. And if you did, remember to hit the like button and subscribe. And until then, see you guys next time.